LPB has been on the air for nearly 50 years, and one member of our team has been here through it all. Clay Fourrier is one of the founding visionaries for everything we've done and everything we continue to do.
That's right, and on the eve of his retirement, executive producer Linda Midget sat down with Clay to reflect on his career and his huge list of contributions to LPB and all of Louisiana.
Hello, I'm Linda Midget. I'm the executive producer for Louisiana, the state we're in. Normally, I am happily on the other side of the camera, but I'm here today for a special reason because a very special colleague to speak with, Clay Fourrier. Clay held my position for many years.
Many years, yeah.
Yes. But like all good things, that's about to come to an end. Things always change and you're going to be retiring soon. So we want to sit down with you and talk about your time here. You have a really unique perspective because you've been here almost 50 years, starting in 1972. So I'd love for you to walk us through what your roles have been over the years.
Well, in 1972, fresh out of college, of course, I actually interviewed with what became LPB and such, but there was 3 people there at that point. So at that time, then I heard about what was known as the Louisiana Hospital Television Network, and I got a job there. I was a production assistant over there, which means I ran the cameras. I also developed some of the graphics. I developed animated titles, and I designed sets. Then I heard about LPB going on the air in early '75. I interviewed and got the job as the production designer, art director, so to speak, for LPB, and was very instrumental in designing early logos. We went through about half a dozen names, designing some of the sets, designing all of the look that LPB would become later on in time. But my first love was really production. And what I loved was we had a program called Louisiana, the state we're in. I became the photographer on that one. I had a friend of mine who lugged around the giant decks that we had. These were big tape decks, very heavy. And we had 2 reporter producers. There was a Beth George, Courtney, and Ron Blom. And the fun thing was you got to really experience the history of Louisiana in the making there at the Capitol, and then dealing with all of the other stories that we shot and edited. It was a great time to do that. From then, I decided not to just stay in photography, but become a director. I wanted to oversee the productions, and eventually was promoted to producer, where I produced a number of programs. Everything from music programs to cooking shows to computer animated programs and such. And then from there became the head of the department, like you are now, the executive producer, where I oversaw a great deal of people doing a lot of great stuff over the years.
Well, that's quite a tenure, but that means you were here in 1975.
Yeah.
That is the first year that LPB went on the air, and you mentioned that there were like 3 people here then. So
a lot of those people that had been with me at the old LHTN network that was being closed down, so to speak, they had a lot of television knowledge. So they moved over to LPB as well. And it was really great because here we were, a bunch of young people given the task of putting a television station on the air, and beyond that, a television network. I got to say, it was an exciting time, it was an adventurous time, and it was an experimental time too.
I mean, LPB, of course, is now ingrained in Louisiana. Right. A 50-year anniversary happens next year, but you were here at a time when it was all a dream, really. It was what could you imagine, and how could you figure out how to get there?
We would do programs that we would come up with. Shadows of the Silver Screen with David Madden, which was gathering an old movie group here and running a film and then discussing it afterwards. Pledge drives were amazing, as a matter of fact. We decided we would go full out with big productions during our pledge drives because we didn't know what we were going to do. So we would end up going, we're going to have a theme. So we would have a circus theme, as a matter of fact, where we would have tents in the background and clowns above, and we would have magicians and everything that would come in. Or we'd have like a country music festival and such like that with square dancers and big hay piles that everybody had to sit on. It was a major production, and it was one of the main ways we were able to keep the funds coming in to create the Louisiana program that we wanted to make.
I'd love to know what stands out in your mind as a couple of the series that you're most proud of.
How y'all are? I'm glad for you to see me, I guarantee.
Well, I'm going to say that, first of all, cooking was one of the mainstays of us. Really, in 1982, we started the Justin Wilson cooking show, which, of course, begat the huge Cajun food fad that was really part of the nation for quite a long period of time. And we took somebody who had been kind of known, and we made him basically a national celebrity. It was also the first program that really, I believe, was distributed nationally on PBS that LPB produced.
Wow.
And I got to say that at one point, we were one of the major distributors of locally produced programming that went off onto PBS networks around the country. So we were able to bring a lot of Louisiana stories to all of these folks that only maybe had a vision of Louisiana from some movies of the 30s or something like that. A couple of other things was The Power of Algebra, which was an early computer animated series that I did, teaching algebraic concepts to middle school children. We had done some studies and found out that that was where they were lacking. And from that, we were able to get 10 episodes out, which at one point was, I think it was the second most popular educational programming on PBS next to Reading Rainbows, LeVar Burton's series.
Wow.
So we won a lot of national awards, a lot of local awards for that one. That was great. And then the one other program I've got to mention is Louisiana History. I was the executive producer, and Beth Courtney was the other executive producer on this program. And we had a wonderful set of producers like Tickle Loden and Al Godoy and more that basically were tasked with the idea of just taking all of Louisiana history from the very beginning all the way up to the present time as it was at that point, which was about 2000, and putting that into a multi-part series. It's a beautiful series. We did a book at the same time, and it also eventually went national as well. So we were able to get the story of Louisiana out again to everybody out there.
And that also won a very prestigious award.
It did. It won the DuPont Columbia Award, as a matter of fact.
nice.
So we're very proud of that one. Actually, just proud of so many of the programs that have been produced and distributed, not only locally but nationally, to educate, inform, and entertain the people of not only Louisiana, but the rest of the country.
I know from working with you, you can be very serious, but you have a very good sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to know some of the funnier moments that stick out, because I've seen some of the photos.
Oh, have you?
It looks like some wild and crazy times happening back here. So what sticks out in your mind?
You know, you got to have a sense of humor or you go insane when you think about some of this stuff. Fun stuff really just happens, you know. We did a cooking show once where the cook was oblivious to the fact that he was on fire and had to put him out. He was known as Chef Lambeau after that one. That was all on live TV. That's what you did. You just kept on going with it, and live television was a lot about that one.
Hey, what's that? Like 7 trifids? Oh my goodness.
We also had a lot of fun with Sci-Fi Saturday Nights. It was basically a take on the old horror movie hosts of the 60s. Where you get a bunch of films, and here we got British TV shows like Doctor Who and Blake Seven and Red Dwarf, and we created these characters, and we had a huge following. We'd bring in science fiction groups, and it became a really popular and very pledge-worthy program. And the fun thing was that Doctor Who had been tried by a lot of PBS stations. They had never had any luck with it, so I was called upon to go to all these different conferences and teach them how such British science fiction programs could be profitable if they had them on their air. And so it was a really fun time. Weirdness included for the fact that at one point we decided, because it was really late night, that the giant mutant chicken would have to be kind of like Larry the Lobster, sacrificed if we did not get enough funds. And we had like a head and everything, and we had the body and such like that. And we just decided, well, we didn't get enough funds at that time, and so we had someone swap down and the head fell like that. And within 10 minutes, the phones rang up. Even though it was like 11:30 at night, parents were calling because all these tiny children at 11:30 at night were watching and thought we killed Big Bird. And we had to immediately go back and said, no, here's the giant mutant chickens, just fine, no problems here.
And by the way, put your kids to bed.
And put your kids to bed. It's far too late to have them out watching this stuff. It's the combination of really knowing that what we were doing was something that was worthwhile, something that really was substantial for the development of children and adults, which was the education and the entertaining of Louisianians. That kept us going. And through the drought times when the budgets were low, and through the halcyon days when the budgets were high, we still continue and we still believed in that. I stayed here because I grew up in Louisiana. Actually, I grew up in Baton Rouge. I remember going to the beaches during the summertime and watching. Wow, what is that? It was called NET, not PBS back then. But it was like there was teaching programs on it. And I grew up watching Mr. Wizard and the Disney shows that talked about space travel and undersea adventures and so like that. I wanted to do that. But I wanted to do it for Louisiana. I wanted to do it for this state. And when the technology came, and it was the time, I loved working here for Louisianians to continue the mission of entertaining, educating, and informing Louisianians. And we still do it now, and we still do it all over the country now.
My question to you is, as you're fully passing the torch to me and to really a whole new generation of producers who are here, what are your words of advice or wisdom, if you have any, to share about the importance of LPB's mission and what we're doing?
The future of LPB and the future of Louisiana are interconnected. Teaching children is very important, and with the technology that we have now and that LPB has now, more than ever, this is the way to go. We also are history providers. We are the people who have basically collected the history of this state on video since we first showed up in 1975. And anybody can go to our archives online now, and they can look for inaugurations and gubernatorial debates. They can look for the artists. They can look for the festivals that we've had, the food, all of that, because it is basically the history of our people and our state that we are collecting and preserving here at LPB. And I have to tell you, with people like you and in positions now, and I see these photographers now roaming around, I see the new producers working on their scripts and everything like that, I just smile. I smile because I know it's all happening. It's still happening. And it will continue to happen because of the people I see that are working there now.
Well, I thank you on behalf of LPB for all of your contributions over the years. Some have been seen, a lot of them are behind the scenes, and other
There's
people don't know.
Yeah.
But thank you. We will miss you. Don't be a stranger. I have a feeling you'll be coming back anyway for a pledge and such.
Oh, yeah.
But we really wish you the best in retirement.
Thank you very much, Linda.